In these circumstances, would I add 2 Caiques? Hi, I'm Kaylin, the author of The Parrot Bliss Bond, the one fighting my Caique off to try to protect my necklace. And in this video, the following was submitted. This is the question. Good morning. I am the proud owner of a 6.5-year-old male Eclectus. He is really fun, but also on the dominant side to other parrots. Because he is my only bird and I work 4 days a week, I want to add another parrot to the flock. My VA advised a Caique. I have been to a good breeder and now I am wondering, should I add 1 or 2 Caiques to the flock? Thank you very much for your advice. By the way, I love your videos. Love the compliment. Thank you. I know I'm a little slow. What's a VA? My VA advised a Caique. I'm not sure what or why. So, it sounds like the Eclectus is dominant to other parrots, but the only bird. So, would I, in those circumstances, add this little noisemaker, and would I add 2? First of all, if you love parrots even half as much as I love parrots, if you love seeing parrots, learning about parrots, asking about parrots, watching videos on parrots, then you are in the right place. If you haven't already subscribed, please consider subscribing and make sure you hit your preferences so that YouTube lets you know when we post tomorrow as well. Now, as to the Caiques, you know, in addition to getting kissed, if I had an Eclectus, I would think about a couple of things. My first choice would be to add either an Eclectus or another parrot in the Asiatic family. Now, here's what I would be considering about an Eclectus. I don't have an Eclectus. I think Eclectuses are probably visually some of the most incredibly beautiful parrots. I feel like they're very attractive. I feel like everyone thinks an Eclectus would be an incredible bird. Because like you see one and I don't know if they're enchanting. It's like, oh my God, I want one. I feel like it's really easy to feel that way. However, I have never added an Eclectus to my flock, despite some opportunities to, because they have a different diet, and because I know that they are very independent. When it comes to parrots, generally speaking, I'm going to say that parrots are very interdependent. What I mean by that is Eckie, my white-bellied Caique here, for example, he has a flock of 2 or 4, depending on how you think about it. In his cage, it's he and his mate, and so they are 2. They spend a lot of their time not just together in their cage, but in other words, when they're in there, they spend a lot of their time next to each other, playing around with each other. They'll kind of like roll on each other. If you know that Caiques like to do what they call surfing, can you go on your back? They'll go on their back like that and roll around with each other. They are a very active bird. They are a very social bird. So, like I was saying, he has another parrot that he lives with, and so he's with her most of the time. I have another pair of Caiques, which means that the Caiques either see each other or hear each other, and that is a part of what constitutes a flock. Yes, just hearing and seeing another parrot counts for something. No, it's probably not exactly the same as physically being with the flock members, but it counts for something because they're in their environment. And in nature, a parrot would have both. It would have other parrots of its own species really close by if it wanted, or in the general vicinity. So that means that most parrots are interdependent in that way. It doesn't mean that they're dependent on each other in a way where they need each other to survive in a negative way. Interdependence means that they work together as a group. As a group, they find food. As a group, they warn each other when there's danger. As a group, they stay with the flock. They live with the flock. Dependence, of course, is completely depending on something external for your survival. And so the difference is, of course, these guys, it's an interchange. They help the flock and the flock helps them. With the Asiatic birds, generally speaking, it is more independent. If you aren't aware, with Asiatic birds, Indian ringnecks, plumheads, Eclectus parrots, they're going to be Alexandrites, they're going to be less interested in cuddles, in physical touch. They are more dependent so that they kind of like to do their thing. And then when they want to be with you and they want to spend time with you, they want to. And I'm not saying that they aren't going to let you pet them. My Indian ringneck, she is affectionate, but it's nowhere near to the level or the degree that my other parrots are. My point, I wouldn't feel like it was a good match as far as their social, their social understanding, their social relating with each other, to bring Caiques, which I find to be very social, in with an Eclectus. The Eclectus is dominant. I think that could also be a problem because Caiques are, I don't want to use the word bullies because it has such a negative connotation, but Caiques are very strong parrots. I feel like they have very strong personalities. They back down from very little. So if you put kind of like two alphas together, that could be a problem. That's the second reason I wouldn't choose the Caiques myself if I was adding someone to my flock for my Eclectus. The third reason I personally wouldn't do it is because their diets are very different. Eclectus diets have very unique specifications. They don't eat normal pellets. If you get pellets for an Eclectus, it has to be specifically Eclectus pellets. They really kind of contrast most parrots in the sense that most parrots can do the pellets and then vegetables. Eclectus need like lots of fruits, lots of vegetables. You cannot give them eggs, and I often see people saying that they feed their Eclectus eggs. Every breeder or every specialist that I've read who really knows Eclectus say that it is really bad for their heart and it clogs their arteries. They can't have eggs. So an Eclectus really requires a special diet. And that means that you'd almost have to have like two separate veggie dishes. I think the Eclectus need a lot of fruit. A lot of your other parrots, the fruit might make them hyper. It's too much fructose. It's not natural to them in the sense that in nature, they would have unripe, green, bitter fruit, and the Eclectus is meant to have more of that ripe fruit that you might be eating yourself. So the diets would be so different. You'd have to get two kinds of pellets or make two kinds of veggies or morning fresh food dishes, and I would be like, that's too much. If I really wanted to do that, I would. Don't eat my earring. But that wouldn't be my first choice. So there's three reasons why I wouldn't choose a Caique. I'm kind of curious why a Caique was recommended. Like I can't think of a reason why someone might go, oh, I think a Caique would be good for this reason or that reason. A fourth thing that I don't think is really important, but it's sort of just suggestive, if you will, is that the Eclectus is an Asiatic bird, which means they're from Asia kind of thing. In other words, like Thailand or that part of the world. Whereas this is a neotropical bird that is from South America. And I really don't think that's that big of a deal, but it does sort of speak to me as far as saying, kind of like they could have similar climates, but they are on different sides of the world. And so I do feel like that, I just feel like it's too much of like vastly different kinds of parrots. What would I add if I wanted my Eclectus to have companionship during the day? First of all, I would recognize the fact that chances are that my Eclectus probably won't have a cage mate. They could. It could happen, but Eclectus, like we said, are very independent, so I would be prepared. I would like set up a second cage for whoever I'm getting. The second cage, of course, the size, the bar spacing would depend on who I get. I would consider some interesting Asiatic birds like a plumhead. They get the males get these beautiful purple heads. The females kind of get like a mulberry colored head. I don't know if that's the right word or not. And we're back to eating my necklace. No, don't eat my necklace. This is why I don't wear necklaces. Stop, stop. Okay, he laughed. I would consider an Asiatic bird. I would consider perhaps another Eclectus, male or female. I would consider an Indian ringneck. I would consider changing my clothes because now I've been pooped on. You know, I would look at some birds like that. Or I might get something if I'm interested, if I was interested in something like budgies or parrotlets. You know, I might get a little aviary and put some birds in it. I know, the kitty's there. He's not supposed to be in here. He snuck in, huh? Tell him, kitty, this is not your space. So that's really what I would consider, because it's possible the Eclectus will make friends with whatever bird you get, but given that they're independent, I would have I would be ready to know that they may not. I hope that really helps with trying to make the decision on the Eclectus. I will say though, I would definitely get another parrot or another aviary or whatever. You know, I would definitely get something, because then my Eclectus would at least have that surrounding sound. It may not be the first choice. My first choice, I would research. I would ask people with Eclectus parrots if they get along with other Eclectus parrots or not, because I know that they're independent. I know that my Indian ringnecks, they kind of like want their personal space, and they're like, do not come within 500 yards of me unless I give you permission. So if I felt like my Eclectus at 6.5 years wasn't really going to connect with another parrot, which is possible, because at that point they haven't really bridged the being a parrot and connecting with a human. My Caique parrot is like that. She spent 2 years or 1.5 years or something like that, from what I've been told. I don't know how true it is or isn't. I kind of have my suspicions, but where she was the only parrot. And so she is not really taking to the rest of her flock that are also Caique parrots very well. And so they have to learn, and when they're young is when they most learn it. They have to learn how to really be a parrot and relate with humans if they're going to bridge the two worlds. So once you've had an Eclectus, and once he's 6.5 years old, especially if he's been by himself the whole time, and I don't mean like maybe when he was a baby and hand-fed, he was with other parrots, but in other words, if he has been the only parrot in the home basically for 6 years, then it's very possible that he's not really going to know how to relate, and it can come back to him, but he's being independent and not knowing how to relate. I would be like, you know, it's not likely that he's going to really connect with another parrot, so I would get something that's really going to be separate, but I would get something where I'm not going to have like sort of like an alpha and an alpha. I would think about what I wanted, and if I wanted something in his family that he may relate to, I would get something Asiatic. If I felt like that just really wasn't going to happen, and I just wanted sort of like sounds around him, I might get a cage with, I don't know, 2 or 3 little budgies, or 2 parrotlets, or 2 lovebirds, because he might just enjoy hearing them. But I feel like he may prefer to hear other Asiatic birds. So I hope that helps, and I hope you keep me updated. Let me know what you get for your Eclectus and how it goes. Thanks for joining me in this blissful video. Thank you for the question. As always, please comment below. That really helps my videos. And like and subscribe, and then I will catch you next time.